in high school, I used to work in a bookstore in Barnes and Noble, and I suddenly realized that during all of my breaks, I was gravitating towards National Geographic and things like this. So in the beginning, it was really that simple, being struck by very exotic images and the idea of being this person that could travel to exotic places and that kind of thing. So. Yeah, and then I got to college, and I knew I wanted to do journalism at that point. I mean, I started college immediately after September 11th, and was kind of waking up to the world around me, and very quickly gravitated towards photography, and picked up a camera for the first time, and chose to make photojournalism my path. Yeah, I mean, photography is important to me. I mean, I guess as I continue in my career, it becomes less about the photography and more about specific issues that I want to explore. And photography has been the medium that allows me to, kind of build a body of work around each of these issues, and kind of attack it from different angles visually. So my story for the masterclass, which so far I'm calling a Catalogue of Dead Aid, we'll see if that title sticks as I continue the work. I started traveling to Africa, with this kind of idea of seeing the exotic and being this person that traveled around the world, and as a volunteer, as a Peace Corps volunteer. Eventually, I kind of realized that the projects I was doing were kind of this top-down approach to aid and development that just weren't sticking. And even though the community that I lived in a village for 2 years in northern Ghana. And even though they were kind of fully on board with what I was doing, it eventually kind of became clear that they weren't necessarily invested in it. So I started to question, what am I doing here? Why, who am I? I was, 22 when I arrived there, 21 when I arrived there. And so who am I to try to tell this entire village how to live? And, over the years since then, I've really begun to question my role and the role of many people from the West as a whole, kind of traveling to Africa with these projects in mind. You could kind of travel in any village in Ghana and find examples of this work where the projects are somebody came and built a well, and it broke down, and then by then they were gone, and nobody locally knows how to fix it, or there are just dozens of examples of this kind of thing. And to me, this project was a way of kind of questioning the meeting of perceptions between, speaking broadly, Africa and the West, because we both have these very distorted media images of each other. We constantly see Africa as this place to sort of pity and just this kind of poverty-stricken, across the board, sort of miserable place, which to me, after having lived there, is completely untrue. And then I think their media image of us is through action films, as far as the village I lived in. And the only time they actually see someone from the West, it's when they're coming to deliver one of these items. And so I saw these objects as this kind of meeting point of this kind of false impressions that we have of each other. The message is in some ways that aid has to try harder, but in other ways that maybe it's that we should question the feasibility of aid, or the need for aid. I mean, I don't know. I think it's time to kind of question it in a broad way, as far as what kind of relationship are we really building with these communities? Yeah, I mean, for me, I think my favorite picture is this picture of all this tractor equipment, farming equipment that was abandoned, and it's you. I mean, you just look at it and it's thousands of dollars worth of equipment, and it's got this empty chair in the middle, and so it has this kind of sense of abandonment and loss, and yet the equipment is still, despite sitting in the field for months, it's still very kind of gleaming and new. And I think, to me, this kind of embodies the real point of the story from the African perspective. What does that do to their mindset concerning the West when they see something so obviously expensive, so obviously brand new, that it can just be left behind and abandoned without a second thought? I mean, that's mind-blowing to me. I mean, I've only been through one day of the class so far, but already it's been a couple of days of even just kind of casual conversation, and already just the depth that it brings in terms of, I mean, I can imagine that I'll be leaving here and wishing that every project I do from now on, I could have this experience. Because I think some people are here for portfolio advice or whatever. I mean, I'm really here to just have one or two projects and kind of conceptualize them in depth, and that's already happening in the first couple of days. And so, just to have these amazing minds, both the students and the masters, helping me kind of pick apart what I'm trying to say and what I'm trying to do and what the best ways are to say it. I mean, that's just an incredible experience.